A suspension bridge has two towers that rise 500 feet above the road and are connected by cables that hang in the shape of a parabola that can be represented by y is equal to 1 over 8,960 times x minus 2100 squared plus 8, where x and y are measured in feet, and x is the distance from the left tower in the direction of the right tower. What is the distance between the two towers? Let's draw ourselves a diagram. So if we draw the leftmost tower, this is the left tower right here. I'm going to do it in orange. So we have the left tower right here. That tower is at x is equal to 0, right? We'll call that x is equal to 0, or we'll maybe just call that the 0 point right there. And then x is just measuring the distance from that leftmost tower to the rightmost tower. So the rightmost tower in the direction of the right tower. So this right here, maybe the right tower is right over here. They're both 500 feet high. The right tower is right over there. And we don't know where it is. That's what we have to figure out. We have to figure out the distance between the two, but we just need to know that x is measuring this distance, is measuring the distance from the left tower in the direction of the right tower. So it's just traditional, just like our coordinate plane. That is what x is measuring. If you say x is equal to, I don't know, a million feet, you're going to get something way beyond that second tower. If you say x is 1 foot, you're going to get something in the direction of the second tower from the left tower. So that's x. And then y, we can assume, is the height of the towers, or is just the height in general that we're dealing with. So this is the y-axis. So we're just dealing in the first quadrant of the coordinate plane. So that is y. And they're telling us that this parabola, the shape of the parabola can be represented, or even better, they're saying that the cable that connects these two is in the shape of a parabola. So let me draw that parabola right there. They're the same height, so the parabola will look something like this. It will look something like that. And what we can do to figure out, or one possible technique, let me draw a better parabola there. That's even worse. Oh, that's about as good as I can do. One technique for finding the distance between the two is if we could figure out the minimum point of this parabola. If we can figure out the minimum point of that parabola, which is also going to be the vertex of that parabola, that's going to be halfway between the two towers. So if we can figure out this x-coordinate, we can say, hey, that's going to be halfway between the two towers, and then just multiply by 2. So let's see if we can figure out this minimum point, because the parabola is symmetric around it, and these are both at the same height. So let's see if we can figure out that minimum point. So let me rewrite this equation. We have y is equal to 1 over 8,960 times x minus 2100 squared plus 8. So how do we find the minimum point here? Well, this whole expression that's squared, this whole expression is always going to be positive, or it's actually always going to be non-negative. It could be equal to 0. And so this whole thing is always going to be greater than or equal to 0. This whole thing I'm squaring off in orange is always going to be greater than or equal to 0. So what is the lowest value that y can take on? Well, the lowest value that y can take on will happen when this expression is equal to 0. And this expression equals 0. This part of it equals 0 only when x minus 2100 squared is equal to 0. And that's only going to be equal to 0 when x minus 2100 is equal to 0. So let me write it this way, equals 0. And I'm just talking about this orange part when x minus 2100 is equal to 0, or if you add 2100 to both sides, or x is equal to 2100. And when x is equal to 2100, just out of curiosity, what is y? Well, if x is 2100, this thing is 0 times 0. Y is just going to be equal to that 8 there. So this coordinate right here is the coordinate x is equal to 2100. Y is equal to 8. And it's going to be halfway between our two towers. So if this is at 2100, how far is this tower away? Well, it's going to be twice 2100. So it's going to be 4200. And everything we're dealing with is feet. It's going to be 4200 feet away from that first tower. So the distance between the two towers is 4200 feet.